Hello, Namaskar. You're watching BTTV. This is Market Today. I'm Tanya Aneja, and with me is Shail Bhatnagar, our markets editor. Well, we are all set to begin a new week on Dalal Street, and it's going to be an important one. We'll tell you why, but first up, the top headlines for you. Indian stocks are likely to resume their upward climb on Monday as investors go after quarterly earnings and traders buy into beaten down valuations. Firm crude oil and gold future prices may pull back bullish fervor. More action will be seen in the cash segment as traders find newer sectors to invest in and money rotates out of stocks where enough money has been made. Keep government PSUs on the radar. Very good morning, Shell. It's a fresh Monday morning, or should I say it's Monday again? But of course, it's a new day, new week, and festive season is also here. And this week is going to be, packed with important national and global macroeconomic data. We have WPI inflation today, Q2 earnings, of course, HDFC Bank today, then UK inflation data, China Q3 GDP numbers. So what should be the strategy and where do you see Nifty at this point in time?
Good morning, Tanya, and good morning to all our viewers from different parts of the world who've joined us on this fabulous Monday morning. At least the weather in Delhi is getting more and more beautiful by the day, and it's also the beginning of Navratra. Happy Navratra to you all. Let's hope the mother takes away all the pain and brings in lots of good cheer, good hope, and peace all around the world. With those wishes, let's look at the market, Tanya. We saw a terrible Friday, more so because it was Friday the 13th. The Nifty opened gap down and remained in negative territory as far as throughout the day was concerned. 19,750 is where it shut shop, and there was a smart rally from the low of about 19,670 all the way up to 19,805, and from then on, because of the weekend ahead, a bit of a collapse happened towards the close, and 19,750 is where the index ended. As everybody across the world can make out that the ground invasion of Gaza Strip by Israel, because of the terrorist attack that happened on about a week ago, at least on the weekend, seems to be an eventuality that the markets will have to look into. With that comes the problems with crude oil prices and gold. You'll see both those charts in a while. There has been a massive spike in gold prices as well as crude oil prices. One is because of safe haven buying, which is gold, and because of geopolitical risks in the Middle East, which is the largest producer of crude oil, you see a spark in oil prices. Be that as it may, let's look at how Nifty is poised. And at the moment, you'll see that the trend is now sideways to weak, and festive demand is most likely to boost both earnings as well as corporate performance. But on the heavier side is, of course, the developments on crude oil prices, the developments on US 10-year bond yield, as also the strength in the dollar index. So all these put together, it's an evenly matched day ahead as far as the Dalal Street is concerned. The bulls will defend 19,700s, 19,750 as far as charts are concerned, technically as well as in options chain. And the one counter that will set the trend for the coming week, Tanya, is HDFC Bank. That is where second quarter earnings are expected, and there is a view in the market that there will be at least a 40 to 45% rise in quarterly earnings. The most critical thing to be watched is the net income, net interest margin. Let's see where it stands as far as the second quarter is concerned. But lots of ifs and buts as far as the Nifty is concerned. The market, as far as the cash market is concerned, will be buoyant. Government PSUs, railway companies, defense companies, all these which have shown or are in the limelight for the last 3, 4, 5 months will continue to hog the spotlight, and that is where traders are concentrated, especially metal PSUs from the government market, and that's where you will see a lot of momentum coming in. As far as the support range of the Nifty is concerned, 19,600 to 650 is a good support level, so dips towards that need to be purchased, and resistance is seen at 19,800 to 19,900. Any move towards that should be met with profit booking. As far as individual stocks within the Nifty are concerned, Tanya, very strong moves coming on IndusInd Bank. In fact, if you look at the Bank Nifty components, this was the only stock amongst the 12 that was in the green as far as the Bank Nifty was concerned, as also Tata Motors all-time high and Tata Consumer, both from the Tata stable, and both of them hitting fresh record highs on Friday's trade. Those momentums are likely to continue. That's what I have for you, Tanya, as far as the Nifty is concerned. Bit of an evenly matched day as far as bulls and bears are concerned. Let's see how it pans out.
Okay, absolutely. And 19,600 to 650, that's the support for you. And 19,800 to 19,900, that's the resistance as far as Nifty is concerned. But let's talk about Bank Nifty also, Shail. On Friday, Bank Nifty attempted a nice recovery, but failed due to selling pressure. It closed lower as well, below the opening level, that was 44,322. So what are now the fresh support and resistance levels, and what are you looking on Bank Nifty today?
So Tanya, as you very rightly mentioned, Bank Nifty is weaker. One thing I'd like to put in here, that last week both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty respectively rose 1% each. There were 4 days of gains and then the sell-off on Friday. So net impact is a positive 1% gain last week. Now remember, we are on 16th of October, which basically means that options premium on the end of month expiry will now start to contract, because time value will now ebb out faster from options compared with the first half. So there's a build up as far as prices and time value is concerned in the beginning of the fortnight, and then it sort of tapers down. So that is one thing that long side traders need to keep in mind. Secondly, Bank Nifty had a terrible Friday. It closed at about 44,287, and the reason was that 12 out of the 12 stocks except for IndusInd Bank, 11 of them lost ground. Today's sentiment, of course, will be set up by HDFC Bank, which actually will report its second quarter earnings, and it's the heaviest weighted stock in the Bank Nifty. So the trend from now on will be determined by how net interest income phases out, how the second quarter earnings are there as far as HDFC Bank is concerned. One more point I'd like to put in here, Tanya, is that the FII net sales for the month of October now stand at a negative 12,000 crore rupees, and the brunt of that has been borne by the Bank Nifty. Of course, there have been sales on IT stocks as well, but the Nifty is a 50 share index, and it has some parts of it which are doing extremely well. But the brunt of the selling as far as the FII distaste for Indian markets is concerned is on Bank Nifty, and that's looking exactly how the charts are shaping up. Bank Nifty's trading range is seen somewhere like 43,700 to 44,600, and in this it is the IndusInd Bank which is perhaps the strongest stock on the long side when it comes to individual performances. Tanya.
Okay, absolutely got that. And now let's discuss F&O space as well, Shail, because lots happening there as well. So what should be the strategy, and what are you looking at in the F&O space today?
Again, Tanya, there have been far out and fabulous individual performances, but if you look at the bullish sectors, of course, auto, led by Tata Motors, fabulous breakout on Friday. And if you look at how the sector has moved, that's also fairly strong. Tata Motors on a weekly basis last week added about 8%, And if you look at the individual performance on Friday, it was a rally of about 4.5%. Very, very strong breakout on volume, about 4.5 times more volume in futures compared with Thursday. And this is accompanied by a 10% rise in open interest. Tanya, it's a rare event for a nifty blue chip stock at a record level to show a double digit increase in open interest, and that's how the numbers are. So any dip that you see in Tata Motors because of mild profit booking needs to be purchased on the long side, and the delivery statistics are again mouth watering, 3x more on Friday compared with Thursday. So that's as far as Tata Motors is concerned. And another stock from the Tata stable is Tata Consumer, the brand holder of Starbucks coffee, 913. Again, fresh record high here on a closing basis. If you see the volume, 4x higher and about 6.1% rise in open interest as far as Tata Consumer is concerned. And the delivery statistics are again fabulous, 4.6x more on Friday compared with Thursday. And of course, IndusInd Bank 2.5% higher, the lone gainer in the bank nifty space as far as Friday's trade is concerned. About 100% rise in traded volumes on futures and a mild uptick of about 1% on open interest. This is probably, these are the three stocks where, if any mild profit booking is seen initially on Monday, these are the ones that traders should look at on the long side. Of course, another opinion from an independent financial advisor would be needed. These are the three stocks that look fairly sound on technical and options fundamentals as far as data is concerned. Tanya.
Okay, absolutely. So Tata Motors, Tata Consumers, and IndusInd Bank, keep an eye out on these particular stocks. But let's take a look at the global markets at this point in time. So if we talk about Wall Street, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, they closed lower on Friday amid deteriorating consumer sentiment data and the Middle East conflict. Wall Street's three major indexes opened higher but failed to hold on to the gains. The Dow, however, managed a small gain. So the Dow rose almost 39 points to 33,670 odd level. S&P 500 lost 21 points, and the Nasdaq, that was down 167 points to 13,407 mark. Asian markets, they started the week on a weaker note, and oil prices, as you track oil prices also, Shell, they eased in early Asia trade today. So I want to understand from you now that what is essential now to track from all these overseas cues, and of course from oil prices.
Tanya, I think the biggest and the most critical factor in deciding the risk on or the risk of trade in global equities will be crude oil prices. The drumbeats of war in the Middle East can be heard very, very loudly and across the globe. Once the invasion starts, and it will, as far as the ground move by Israel is concerned into Gaza Strip, and that is going to result into higher crude oil prices. The spike on Friday is visible in front of you, and that does not augur well for global equities as well as domestic equities. Again, if you see how gold futures have moved, you will see the chart in front of you in a while. The spike in gold futures was phenomenal on Friday, and again, this is safe haven buying by institutions, by ultra HNIs who fear that equities might be in trouble, but gold will offset that fall by rising fairly strongly. So these are the two charts that I am seeing. I think the fears of the 10-year bond yield have ebbed, the fears of a strong dollar have ebbed, but it's crude oil and gold. These are the two things that I'm looking at as far as markets are concerned, Tanya.
Okay, absolutely. We'll discuss the markets and everything with our guest also. And I think we have with us Mr. Devin Choksi. He's the MD at DR Choksi Finserv Private Limited. Very good morning, Mr. Choksi. And, it's always good to have you on our show. And thank you so much for being with us here on BTTV. I want to begin by asking you, of course, about your outlook on Indian markets. Festive season is here, but we do have, these geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. So, what should be the strategy at this point in time, and how should investors really begin this new week?
Yeah, good morning, Tanya. Well, I think you split this entire subject into two parts. On one side, I think you put across the entire macro parameters, including the global economy situation. And on the other side, I think we talk about the corporates and corporate earnings in the current quarter and thereafter. So, taking up the macro parameters on which you have put across a point, well, I think the situation is remaining fluid. At this point of time, the oil prices are not likely to go up in hurry. That is what we have understood. In fact, we discussed this subject also in earlier past. Uh, we believe that I think the oil prices may not go up in hurry, but at the same time, I think the attention of the people globally is now getting shifted to how soon, how fast I think this situation can come under control. Because the kind of spread that this situation can have could be probably dangerous. Today, if the one community is getting what you call at this point of time, I think into the situation in Israel, the same kind of a situation can happen into other parts of the world, in Europe in particular, where again I think the hatred has started because of whatever has happened in Israel. So to that extent, I think one is not very sure about how unrest would further spread, and I think that is a subject which we better not discuss. I would think that on macroeconomic parameters, the oil prices are unlikely to move up in hurry, and even if they shot up in the last week, at the end of the week, I believe that I think they should be coming down under and probably get settled because of the higher supply of crude coming from America and also from Saudi Arabia. I think in a given situation, as we understand. Maybe Iranian crude is already at a discount, and probably I think they will not let the prices of crude to go up so that I think Iranian can capitalize this situation. That is also is understood. Given that situation, we believe that I think if the prices do normalize, then India economy relatively remains I think resilient. In my viewpoint, I think the second quarter earnings are suggesting that economy is moving on a good track, fast track. Most of the corporates are having expansion program in place, capacity build-up program in place, business growth programs in place. Given that kind of a situation, I believe that I think we should be having relatively better second half in what we are going to experience. The demand situation post monsoon in the rural economy is likely to surge, and probably we are likely to see higher amount of consumption coming from different pockets on different items. And that is where probably I think one would remain more confident about the corporate working the second half and subsequently in the following financial year. So I think we remain selective about investing in the market, and current opportunity which is available in some of the large cap stocks, they remain relatively more reassuring to build the portfolio given the kind of price correction that we have in large cap stocks.
Right. Good morning, Devin Bhai, and what a pleasure to host you on Business Today. Happy Navratri to you and to all your clients at DR Choksi Shares and Securities. Let's discuss individual performances. Very, very sharp rallies coming into auto stocks. Someday it's Tata Motors, someday it's Maruti. Someday it's escorts, and the other days it's two-wheeler stocks. How do you look at the overall sectoral performance for auto in the coming quarter? Large scale, how should I say, expansions being reported by corporates in this space. What would be your top pick, and how are you trading or investing in this space?
Good morning, Shail, and happy Navratri to you and all your viewers as well. I think in auto space in particular, I think the volume numbers are suggesting that even though we completed the first half of the financial year, I think we haven't seen the kind of a dull moment for auto sector per se. Generally, the second quarter of the financial year is seen as a normal. Normally, I think this is a dull quarter. I think for auto sector in general. However, in this financial year, I think that is not to be. And what we are experiencing both in two-wheelers and passenger vehicles, both put together, we are experiencing higher amount of consumer demand. Also, on the top of it, as was expected, I think the commercial vehicle segment is showing relatively more signs of growth. And I believe, I think it is at the beginning of this growth phase. So commercial vehicle also, I think, is showing relative a good strength. I think largely because of the fact that in the infrastructure space, the use of commercial vehicle is demanded. I think at the same time, higher amount of demand coming in from the scrappage policy, which is also resulting into gradual, but I think short demand coming out there as well. And I think the industry is putting up the expansion program that is also improving the logistic movement. And that is where, again, I think the higher commercial vehicle demand is coming in. So, on one side, two wheeler, which were suffering up till now because of the export related situation, they have relatively shown better ability to, I think, overcome that weak situation, particularly from the other markets of the world. Passenger vehicle, of course, I think is showing a very different character. Electric vehicles, I think, is showing a robustness as far as I think the demand scenario is concerned. In my viewpoint, auto sector remains favorite. It will remain, I think, one of the best performing sector, even not for 6 months, but next 2 3 years. Given that kind of a situation, I think likes of Maruti, likes of Bajaj Auto, likes of Eicher, or even Tata Motors, which is moving up on a different news at this point of time, I think they look relatively more stronger players into the portfolio. Though the prices have gone up for these stocks, I believe that I think in any correction, they would remain always an opportunity to buy, given the long-term outlook remain positive in this company.
That's a fair point that you make. Devin bhai, also we've seen a very, very sharp rally coming into government metal companies, the likes of NMDC, the likes of Coal India. How do you see manganese or smart moves coming into Midhani, Steel Authority? How are you telling your clients to navigate this space? Do they offer value at current levels? Some of these stocks have jumped 20%, 25% all of last week, and the rally is likely to continue as far as the charts at least say.
Shail, I think that is an area where I think one will have to exercise a lot of caution. On one side, undoubtedly, the potential remains extremely high for mining sector in particular. And because of mining, I think that other areas of activities continues to, I think, remain up, I think, strong potential. We also believe that I think metal commodity per se, I think, would also have higher amount of growth continuing in coming years. However, the fact remains that at this juncture, none of the mining companies are in a position to even talk about what kind of volume growth they are going to put across in next 1 to 3 years. I think each one of them are grappling with the situation based on I think some of the government policies pertaining to mining on the royalty front. I don't think that I think any one of them have got the clarity about what production they will have, and so the analysts won't have clarity about what kind of revenue numbers, profit numbers they would have. So we remain extremely cautious about I think the situation, the exuberance that the market is demonstrating at this point of time. Probably I think will cool down if they see the results not turning up in support of the exuberance. So in such situation, I think one will have to wait before buying. At this point of time, I think our focus remains on pure metal stocks, where we believe that the demand scenario remains strong and comparatively the profit margins are intact. Given that possibility, I would think that Tata Steel kind of company would remain relatively more stronger bet in the portfolio than otherwise.
Talk about HDFC Bank as well. The bank is all set to announce its earnings, and according to some experts, the bank is expected to see a rise in its profit. But the creation of excess liquidity could affect the net interest margins. So, what are your thoughts when it comes to HDFC Bank?
So I think the demand growth for the credit has been, I think, on a stronger side. The higher amount of credit offtake has been experienced. In the mortgage segment, 20% plus credit growth rate is continuing. In the retail segment, also 20% plus credit growth rate is continuing. And so is the situation with corporate lending book, where again 20% plus credit growth is being seen. So 20% growth credit in the credit is given norm as far as I think the larger bank like HDFC is concerned. Even some of the corporate banks also similarly follows the same pattern of growth. In my viewpoint, I think given the kind of growth which is happening, it possibly takes care of I think some amount of pressure on the margin and some amount of I think the balance sheet provisions which are required due to the merger of bank with the HDFC. So I guess I think to that extent, I think whatever little amount of I think the provisioning which may be required due to the balance sheet merger, I feel that I think this is going to be taken care of in 1 or 2 quarters. Given the fact that a bank is aggressively expanding using the fintech platform and creating, I think, a higher amount of efficiency for the borrowers, I would, and also I think taking higher amount of deposit through the better deposit collection mechanism. I would think that I think the NBFC bank should remain one of the better performing stocks. Maybe quarterly results are important, but I don't give so much of importance to them on immediate quarterly basis because of the structuring of the balance sheet which is going on. I would rather consider if any fall in the stock price as an opportunity to buy into the company in the portfolio.
Fair point, and that's been a strategy advocated by analysts, strategists, and fund managers across the board. If you see a dip and a substantial dip in HDFC Bank, this is one stock that should grace your portfolio on the longer term. Coming to momentum space, Devan bhai, stocks like ITI Limited are consistently showing 20% circuits, 10% moves, 5% moves on a fairly regular basis, and this is at least not accompanied by any substantial increase in fundamentals or improvement in them. How do you advise investors or retailers to look at them at current levels?
So, Sahil, I think this is not only stock. I think where you are seeing this kind of aggression happening in the stock prices. In my viewpoint, I think there are many stocks in the markets where the stock price aggression is not supported by the company's fundamentals or the results in an immediate future. I think that the major problem lies with the storytelling. Major problem lies, I think, the euphoria that is being created, and the problem I think is acute because of the lower liquidity and higher amount of deep pockets of funds which the select group of investors pour in into this kind of companies to make the stories. I think today investors are at crossroads. They are probably confused as well whether to believe the stories or whether to look at the fundamentals. We keep on telling investors to look at fundamentals and I think cut the noise of the story. However, I think that's a general mass. I think you can't control it. Maybe at this point of time, the regulators will have to look at this particular proposition a little bit more seriously. That many of the undeserving companies are basically getting the wind out of the storytelling, and the prices become unreasonable, ultimately victimizing the investors. That is one thing which regulator will have to install as a process. I think such kind of storytelling could possibly hurt the investors in general over a longer period of time.
Okay, absolutely got that. And before the market pre-open, Mr. Choksi, just a quick word on Birla Soft, because if you look at the performance of the stock, it is the top gainer in FNO series in October series, and it is up almost by 14%. So I want to understand from you that why are investors, putting in their money into these mid-cap IT names, and the stock, valuations wise, if you see, the stock is not that cheap as well. So I want to understand from you the reason behind this excitement.
So again, I think the large cap IT companies where the larger amount of hedging takes place because of the ETFs operation. As a result of which, I think you don't get enough amount of headroom for those investors who want to trade in this particular stocks. Likes of Infosys, likes of TCS, because the sheer market depth and the size of market capitalization may not be able to attract very large funds, I think, who could move the needle as far as I think the trading bat is concerned. But the mid-tier IT companies, where comparatively the size is smaller, floating stock is relatively less, and the traders have the opportunity to, I think, swing the price in their favor by the financial market operations. In my viewpoint, I think that is the rule which is getting applied to many mid-cap, small-cap companies, and I think so would be the situation with many of the companies in different pocket segments. I think in the mid-tier IT company space, the fundamentals are relatively remaining more sure than the large companies. Some of the engineering R&D companies in IT space are having relatively better amount of order book position, and they don't have the same situation which the large cap companies are facing of their customers not releasing the orders in hurry. These guys, I think, are getting their orders in regular format, be it LTTS, be it LTIM, be it Science Technology, be it, I don't know enough about Birlasoft because I think we don't have in
Right,
full
sir.
coverage. So we feel that I think we have to look at I think some of these companies on a merit basis.
Right. Let's look at pre-open trades, which are now with us. The Nifty, after a very sharp uptick initially, is now settling 40 points lower, 19,700. Remember, this is the range which the bulls will defend. If this weakness persists, it will be a second day of consecutive losses. Remember, 4 days previous to that, the Nifty had jumped fairly sharply. Let's look at individual performances. Firstly, earnings boy HDFC Bank trading 1% higher, 1550. It's one of those rare occurrences where you will see HDFC Bank report earnings during the week. Earlier, the tradition has been for HDFC Bank to report its earnings on the second Saturday of every reporting month. L&T is in the green, 3100. Let's look at Infosys, flat about 1428. Let's look at Reliance, the counter at 2329, down about 0.9%. There aren't any major winners as far as the index heavyweights are concerned. Axis Bank charts weaken further, 0.7% lower, 987. ICICI Bank, the stock trading at about 943, down 0.85%. So that's how the index heavyweights have fared. Let's look at the FNO space minus the index heavyweights. Looks like it's going to be a cement day, Tanya. Dalmia Bharat Cement, 2400 to you, up about 4.7%. Let's look at low ticket, high beta items, which are in the green. IDFC First Bank about 1% higher in pre-open trade, 91. National Aluminium, like I said, government PSUs in the metal space still in the green, 99.70, 0.7% higher. Devan Bhai has flagged off concerns there. Tata Steel 125.20, up 0.1%. Let's look at the green tick on Hind Copper, NMDC as well as ONGC. ONGC is one stock that will be in focus as far as traders on the long side are concerned. Any spike in crude oil prices is beneficial for India's largest producer of crude oil, and with ONGC rises Oil India as well. Let's look at the top gainers list once again. It's a few high beta names I'd like to point out. Container Corporation 1% higher, 720. Chambal Fertilizer 1% higher, 294. And a quick look at the NSE 500 space. Okay, MMTC 3% higher, 76.90. ITI again 1.7% higher, 275.90. The reason why I'm pointing out PSU stocks, because these are low ticket items with extremely high beta and very strong charts. Fundamentally, Devan Bhai is flagged off concerns, but remember, there are times when the markets remain irrational and exuberant more than what you can remain financially viable. So these are the stocks that you need to look at as far as traders are concerned. As good time as any to welcome Mr. Brijesh Ail. He's the head of technicals and derivatives for retail research at IDBI Capital Markets and Securities. The Nifty now flat about 19,737 as far as trades are concerned. Good morning, Brijesh. Welcome to Business Today Television. Okay. He'll join us fairly shortly, and we'll discuss a couple of stocks with him. As of now, there seems to be a fairly flat kind of opening on Monday on the Nifty as well as individual stocks. Let's throw a question to Devan Bhai again, this time on the financial services space. Devan Bhai, HDFC AMC with Birlasoft, one of the top performing stocks in the FNO space, as also Angel One. How are you watching this space, which is really very close to your heart? It's your family business for generations.
depository accounts getting created because of the surge of new IPOs coming in. We also have higher amount of mutual fund accounts getting created because of, I think, newer schemes getting launched, newer AMCs have come into play. Uh, these days, I think the ETFs are cornering also significant amount of money. So that is where again I think investor is allocating more money. More than 16,000 crore worth of SIP is I think happening on a monthly basis. Insurance premium on life insurance side I think remains in the vicinity of around 13 to 15% kind of a growth even in this quarter also. So all in all put together, I think the money which is coming into the system is significantly high, and I'm not completely surprised. If your economy is 3.5 trillion, 4 trillion, and if it is going in the direction of 10 to 12 trillion dollars in next 12 years time, then the amount of savings, I think, at the as a percentage of the GDP, is also going to be simultaneously increasing. So all these businesses, be it AMC business, be it stock exchange business, be it depository business, be it the registrar business, whichever business you look at, I think each of these businesses are going to have stronger numbers going forward. And they are in support of India more because I think the currently demographics are very, very small as far as I think the participation in the financial market is concerned. So as a strategic call, as a direction call, one can remain positive about it. And some of the names which you mentioned, I think they remain interesting proposition, particularly when the market is neglecting them. I think they remain interesting proposition. Like AMC companies today, they remain, I think, interestingly positioned given the size of AUM that they are acquiring. Life insurance companies are similarly remaining interesting propositions. So one could remain positive about these businesses in the portfolio.
Fair point. And with that, Devin bhai, we'll thank you. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. And of course, we'll keep an eye out on auto stocks, the ones that you suggested. A good time to welcome Mr. Brijesh Ale with us. He's the head and technical and derivatives for retail research at IDBI Capital. Good morning, Brijesh. Welcome to Business Today Television. How do you see the sentiment across the Lal Street, and where are your buy thoughts focused on?
Morning, Shailin sir. So basically, I think today the opening is quite a little flat, but then I think we are in an upside trend. On a larger note, we want this Nifty to close about 19,800. So as in when we see the closing about 19,800, maybe a 1 or 2 day kind of a confirmation is needed. Then I believe we should be rallying higher. 20,400 is what technical target what we are targeting. So the view is quite positive. There is nothing negative. Like in the last week, we saw only the PSU bank, where only one sector where we saw some amount of decline. But then there is none of the sectors which says that there can be a correction or maybe a sell-off during the week. So I'm pretty confident maybe during the day or maybe at the end of the day, if we are able to take this 19,800, then I think we are going to see a positive market. And even from the intraday perspective, whatever Nifty coming close to 19,700, I think it should be a buying opportunity. There is nothing negative as of now, mainly because of the VIX. The VIX is flat. VIX is not rising the way it should have risen. So I don't see a major correction in the market. So buyers will be positive. Small declines close to 19,700 should be viewed as a buying opportunity.
What are the individual stock charts that you're looking at which promise some strength on the long side, Brijesh?
As a sector, I am quite extremely bullish on the auto and realty. We all saw that Tata Motor has seen a very good breakout on the Friday session. This breakout has now been poised for the weekly and monthly kind of a upside trigger. So I think Tata Motors, there's a probability 700 to 730 can be seen in the Tata Motors over the next couple of days. So there is a one bet. So corrections in the Tata Motors is a buying opportunity. Beside this, APL Apollo is one call which I think will see a very good breakout in the next coming trading session. So from the current level of 1724, I think one should take a positional, not exactly position from a trading point of view, 1800 plus view for the APL Apollo. That would be a trading bet. And JK paper is something which I'm extremely positive at current level 398. In the last week, we saw most of the paper stocks were moving higher. So JK Paper was one stock which has already given a buy trade setup. Now it has been corrected for the last Thursday, Friday session. I think this is an opportunity we are talking for the 450 level, 450 plus levels on the JK paper. So that also remains on trading opportunity in the counter.
Okay, absolutely. Got that. JK Paper and APL Apollo Tires. These are the two stocks. And also, let's talk about, the top banking counter, Brijesh, in the October series, and that is IndusInd Bank. Uh, what do the technical charts suggest for this particular stock? It is actually trading at, it's January 2020's high. And we should pull up the stock as well for our viewers and see what is the stock doing in the pre-open. Okay, 1462 is the level. 0.85% downtick there on this particular counter. But what are the levels one should watch out for when it comes to IndusInd Bank, Brijesh?
So specifically, from the derivatives point of view, there's a lot of long built-ups in the from in the IndusInd Bank. The entire strike price of 1540, 1560, 1580, there is a long built-up. So I think this somewhere the crowd, I think they believe that this would be level on the higher side. And even from the technical perspective, if I see, it has been the last 55 weeks of sideways consolidation. And on Friday, we saw a very good volume breakout. So I think this is going to be one of the positive bet in the banking space. And though the bank nifty is not performing at 45,000, there is a very stiff resistance in the bank nifty. So I think right now it's only one IndusInd Bank which is going to see some good amount of upside momentum. I think 1550 should be the highest side target. This is what technical as well as the derivative data suggests.
Right. Gaurav, an equally strong, if not more powerful, breakout was seen on Tata Motors. It has the sectoral trade win, as also a very strong expansion that's on the charts and on its business. How is Tata Motors looking to you?
So specifically, I said the Tata Motors in the current month, in the current month, it's already up by 5%. And if I do look from the monthly point of view, somewhere I believe this is giving a bullish flag pattern breakout. And if this pattern turns out, then we should be talking for another 200 points from the current level. So which is as good as 850 levels. I'm quite extremely bullish on the Tata Motors. I think. Maybe it will take a little bit of a longer time, but then this 200 points more on the Tata Motors looks quite more promising. As I said in the earlier, like any declines or whenever the market corrects within the even the auto space, if there is some kind of profit booking comes, I think Tata Motors will see a very good like the entry point will be quite a good. The base for the Tata Motor is 600. For by any chance, in the if we take a position and 600 is broken, then we'll review the call.
Absolutely. And since we are talking about, the
Okay,
auto
let's
sector
look at
only,
the
let's.
pre-open trades. Tanya,
Sure. Please go
Tanya, the
ahead.
markets have opened. My apologies. The Nifty is down 37 points, 19,715. The Bank Nifty down 147 points, 44, 146. There's buying happening on the Nifty IT index, 100 points higher, 31,900. These are the initial ticks that are coming in. Remember the point as of now, which the Nifty is it at, is the pivot. Let's see how this fares. At the moment, you see, as far as index heavyweights are concerned, it's HDFC Bank, the earnings boy today, also the heaviest weighted counter in the Nifty, which is pulling the index lower, down 0.5%, 1527. Let's look at the other three index heavyweights. Infosys in the green, 4.7% higher, 1441. What about Reliance? Flat, a third of a percent lower, 2340. Which are the other stocks that are contributing negatively to the index? Hindustan Unilever, 0.5% lower, 2560. Let's look at L&T, 0.2% lower, 33,082. How about ICICI Bank and Axis Bank? Weakness on ICICI Bank, 0.2% lower, 949.50. Axis Bank flat at about 994. It's only Infosys that's helping the index higher in terms of heavyweights. Let's shift focus immediately to F&O stocks and look at the top gainers. Okay, the most active counters in terms of price are again Tata Motors. This is a dip which is available, 0.2% lower, 666.2. Let's look at more stocks. Asian Paints, 1.5% lower, 31.12. Remember, an uptick in crude oil prices is negative for paint companies. ONGC 1% higher, 186.85. Federal Bank in the green, fresh record high, 150. HCL Tech 1.5% higher, 1271. So IT is helping the broader market. Let's look at other top gainers. It's MCX 2% higher, fresh record high, 2151. I see a nice green tick on Balrampur Chini in the F&O space, 1.5% higher, 422.60. Then you have stocks like Laurus Labs, 1% higher, 408. You have India Bulls Housing, 1% higher, 173.30. RECL fresh record high, 0.5% higher, 294.75. Let's shift focus to cash stocks and we'll look at NSE 500. There is no stopping MMTC, 7% higher, 80. NBCC, again a government PSU, 3% higher, 65. We have Oil India, 1.9% higher, 321.85. You have gains on Prestige Real Estate, Suntech Realty. So realty space is coming in. And of course, APL Apollo, which Brijesh highlighted, 1% higher, 1733. This is how the markets have opened up. The first 2 or 3 minutes, the Nifty is now still down 38, 19,700. So 19,700 is a place where the bulls are battling the bears. Remember, the low for Friday was 19,640. Any dips beyond that will be met with sustained selling, and any bumps above 19,810 will be met with buying. Axis Bank is the top gainer as of now, regained the 4-digit mark, days high 1003. This is how things are moving. Maruti 10,800, days high. HCL Tech, days high. Bharti Airtel, days high. Maruti, M&M, Eicher Motors and UPL. These are the stocks that are at the day's high as far as the Nifty is concerned. Let's look at the broader markets. Fairly strong momentum towards the bulls. 1233 stocks in the green compared with 600 that are in the red as far as broader markets are concerned. Let's look at individual performances. It's the IT index which is the top gainer, 0.3% higher. Auto index 0.2% higher, 16,484. And the Nifty Bank is the top loser, 0.4% down, 44,100. Tanya, what are the stocks that you are watching?
Actually, Shail, I would like to talk to you. I would like to talk to Brijesh about TVS Motors only. You know, it's the top F&O gainer from the auto space. In October expiry, up around 10%. And let's pull up the stock and let's see. Okay, it's trading in the green as we speak. 1608 is the level where we are at this point in time. What do the technical charts suggest for TVS Motors, Brijesh?
Today, the opening has not been positive. I think there's an open high in the TVS motor. So normally, open high is something which says that that can be a possible resistance. So it's we need a first 1 hour 1 hour kind of a trade. If that high is not taken out, then most probably today for the day specific, there can be some profit booking in the TCS. So slightly cautious view from the 1 or 2 days point of view, because there is a possibility 1580 is the downside level where it can see some support. So I would have take a cautious view, even though when the auto sector is positive, TVS specifically, let's have a cautious view, simply because it has seen an open high in the morning trade.
Fair point, Brijesh. The Nifty is now slipping further, 54 points down, 19,700. This is a crucial level. Let's see how the bulls and the bears battle it out. The first support, remember, is at 19,655. And let's see whether the index reaches there or not. The stocks that are pulling the index lower are now State Bank of India, 573, days low. Bajaj Finance, days low, 8,029. Sun Pharma, Divi's Lab, both of them from the pharma space, ticking lower, 1139, days low, 3675. TCS, IndusInd Bank, Hindalco, again days low. It's not a good start as far as the Nifty is concerned, but these are early times as far as markets are concerned. Let's see how the day pans out. I'll give you the list of stocks that have hit all-time highs, and that is where you'll see a lot of trader activity coming in. Maruti, from the index space, we've seen 10,800 coming on the charts. Bharti Airtel 955, TVS Motors 1603, Tata Motors, DVR, Medant, and ITI. These are stocks that are doing fairly well on the charts, and it's now, I think it will be the day for autos. Bajaj Auto moving up 5058. Let's reach out to Brijesh. Brijesh, what looks good to you in the auto space in the initial 5 minutes? Anywhere where you'd stick your neck out on the long side?
Yes, yes, very, very true. I think I'm going to take a very strong buy call on the Hero Motoco. The way it has opened and way the I can see the buying in the last 5 minutes. I'm confident that the last three, four tradings range will be taken out. So I think one should not wait and take the buy call at the current price at 3124. That is the future price. Uh, and easily bet for another 100 points as a trading bet on the Hero Motoco. I'm extremely positive on Hero Honda.
Okay, absolutely. And let's pull up Dalmia Bharat as well. So basically, this is the top mid cap gainer for you. The company posted stellar Q2 numbers. Profit is up 162% on a year on year basis to 123 odd crore rupees. So stellar quarter two numbers, Brijesh, for Dalmia Bharat. What do the technical charts suggest?
Right now the momentum is positive, but I don't see a much of a upside. 2400 is the maximum upside, which I think can be the cap for the counter. There is no trade setup which says that we can initiate a fresh trade, but then somebody who's holding a position can ride the momentum till close to 2400 level. On the way down, what was the like for example the Friday session low, which stands at 2275, should be the stop loss for all the long trades, because from if those levels are broken, then the 50-day moving average, which is somewhere close to 2190 levels, can be seen. So some slightly distribution is what I can see. So no fresh trade setup, but somebody's holding a position can look for 2400, and at 2400 definitely one should take some profits and then review later.
Okay. Tanya, I think we also need to pay attention to ONGC, mainly because the thrust that we've seen on crude oil prices. Brijesh, coming to you, one of the top gainers as far as markets are concerned, and a gap up, 187.50. Fairly strong traction as far as price and open interest are concerned. How do you see this swing trade in the making?
So this ONGC specifically, if you see on 3rd October, there was a very strong sell-off candle, and the high of that particular candle is 190 levels. And now the pace of the movement of the ONGC is quite a slow. And today also at from the level of 188.35, there has been slightly profit booking. I think 190 level is going to act as a resistance for the ONGC. Only in the near term, whenever we saw a very strong closing above 190, then I think there can be some upside momentum. But again, the volumes are missing as of now. I don't think it is going to be any trading opportunity as of now. Though it has given a gap up opening, there is a slight selling pressure which I can see. 190 anyways remains the higher side resistance zone. We'll take a cautious view on the ONGC.
Okay, no issues there. And there seems to be a fabulous swing trade in the making on the long side. Brijesh, I'll attract your attention to Canara Bank. We've seen a fairly strong dip, 385 down to about 360, where the stock took support on its 34 EMA. Very quickly, what are the charts telling you as far as Canara Bank is concerned? It seems to be a sectoral move. PNB is also at its day's high, and we are seeing small cap banks clicking in fairly well. Canara Bank for you.
Sir, I'm extremely positive on Canara Bank. Daily chart, there has been never a correction in the Canara Bank the way other banks corrected. And if right now I'm looking at the derivatives data, so there is a good amount of long build up in the 380 strike price, so which is immediate a trading bet. Canara Bank is a 2700 is a lot size. I can easily see another 10 points move in Canara Bank. So I think one should take a immediately, irrespective of the market, I think one should take a long position in Canara Bank. Maybe next couple of days we should see a 380, and somebody wants to take an option trade can also hunt for 380 call option. Maybe not 380, 375, just after checking the liquidity. I'm pretty confident. I think Canara Bank will be one of the outperformers.
Okay, absolutely. And Brijesh, let's look at MMTC. This stock was on a roll last week, and I remember the stock hitting its upper circuit, I think on Thursday and Friday also. 81 is the level, and it is up 10% as we speak. So clearly, the stock is on a roll. I want to understand from you that what are now the important levels one should watch out for when it comes to MMTC?
It would be quite a difficult from the monthly time frame. I think it's quite positive. 40% is what it is month on month positive. And basically, the breakdown has come in in late 2013, and that was seen from the level of 500. After that, it's not very keen on the counter, but then there has been a continuous buying. So if somebody can check the fundamentals, and if fundamentals are okay, then I think it is good to invest in the MMTC. It looks quite positive on that.
Okay, absolutely. And what about MRPL? This stock is also a sudden spike we are seeing, and this stock is also up 3% as we speak. 104.95 is the level. What's the right zone for this particular stock? What's the right buy zone for this particular stock?
So anytime when it comes close to 195 levels, I think it's a good amount. It's a good entry point because can clearly see that somewhere close to 125, 130 would be the highest side target for the MRP. The time frame would be quite a little bit of difficult. Maybe 3-4 months kind of, not exactly 3-4, 2-3 months kind of time frame can be seen in the MRP. The structure is quite very positive. Weekly, monthly is very strong. Whenever it comes close to 195 in between this range, I think it's your buying opportunity, and one should take a bet for 125, 130 levels. Charts are extremely positive.
Okay, Tanya, it's the Tata group that's moving in sync with each other. A fresh record high on Tata Motors. This was one stock that I had highlighted as far as pre-markets were concerned, and at 672. The other thing I want to check is the options chain on Tata Motors. Remember last week we had highlighted the 630 rupee call on Tata Motors at about 13-14 rupees. The 630 call at the moment is now 44 rupees. So in a span of 3-4 days, the money has tripled. Be that as it may, let's again touch base with Brijesh. Brijesh, a very strong breakout on Tata Motors. How do you want to play this? 675 at cash levels.
Sir, somebody who wants to take a safe bet can look for the in the money call option 6. There is a good amount of liquidity which I can see in Tata Motors. I'll just get you the exact strike price. Right now, there is a long bid term in 660 and 670 strike price. This is the in the money call option where the safety margin of safety will be quite high. But somebody wants to take a risk can even look for the 700 call option, which is somewhere close to 5 rupee. So both anyway, I think this Tata Motor is going to be the outperformer for the till the this entire series. There is no negative bias, and continuously there is a long build up in all the strike price in the call option. So this clearly says that this call writing is getting unwinded. So definitely long positions are getting built up. On a safe zone, 670, 660 is a safe bet, and somebody who wants to take an aggressive bet can go for 690, 700 call option also.
Okay, absolutely. And I think we should pull up Union Bank of India as well. So basically, the Reserve Bank of India has imposed a monetary penalty of 1 crore rupees for non-compliance with directors related to loans and advances and other restriction. But the stock is up 2% despite this news, and 105 is the level. And I think during market hours, it is only the liquidity that matters, as Shell also pointed out. So, what are your thoughts when it comes to Union Bank, and what are the important levels to watch out for?
I think the PSU pack on its own is positive. So 122 is the monthly target for the Union Bank. So this continuation of the trend will be there. I won't be taking a fresh entry on the in the Union Bank, but since somebody's having a position, should ride a movement until 122. Uh, Even right now, if somebody takes a position, can easily see a stop loss of 96. I think there can be opportunity, but the maximum high which I can see in Union Bank is somewhere close to 122 levels. So I think there is nothing negative. I think we can take this buy trade setup with the Union Bank as well.
Okay, let's look at the Nifty PSE index. This is the public sector enterprises index, somewhere like 6033. It's about to scale a fresh high, an all-time high, and at the moment it's up 0.3% at 6028. The reason that I mentioned this index in particular is because if you look at the NSE 500 index and you look at how volume buzzers are moving in, you will see MMTC, which both Brijesh and Tanya have discussed. It's 933, and remember MMTC has been on the roll for the last 4 or 5 trading sessions. So far 3 crore 17 lakh shares have been traded, which is already one time volume, and remember this is only 934. So a very sharp up move on MMTC coming in. Gujarat Alkali 1% higher, 783, 2.3% higher, 783, and the average volume is one time already. Similarly, Gujarat State Fertilizer Corporation, the volume is about one time in the first 10 odd minutes of the 5-day average. So these are the stocks that are doing extremely well on price, and these are very strong volume breakouts that are happening. We've already discussed Canara Bank, which is at a day's high. MRPL is taking away the gains, 106 in front of you. And in terms of par financing, it's the twins PFC and RECL, both fresh record highs in front of you, 255.20 and RECL at 298.80. So it's the PSU basket that's doing phenomenally well, and there seems to be a breakdown in the making as far as Nifty is concerned. A very sharp red candle coming in, almost at day's low, 19695 when it comes to the price, down about 55 points in cash. Nifty Bank is slipping too. The Nifty IT index is in the red, and that's how things are moving. Reliance at day's low 2341. HDFC Life at day's low 621. Metals are shining, especially Tata Steel, and this is how the cookie is as far as markets are concerned at 9:35. We've had 20 minutes of trade. Breakout rallies happening in government PSU stocks, especially the metal space, and some parts of government PSU banking, and profit booking across the index heavyweights, especially Reliance. I want to see what HDFC Bank is doing. It's the earnings boy today, weak, 0.8% lower, 1524. Brijesh, anything that catches your fancy?
I think we should keep a focus on the auto and banking. SBI is one bet which I'm very it has come to the 200-day moving average. It is taken as support. I have a view SBI be crossing 600 in the next couple of days. So SBI is one bet where the risk reward ratio is very favorable. Today's low should be the stop loss for the SBI at 573. This is a future price. This is a future price. I see SBI going crossing 600 in next one or two trading session. So SBI is one bet. After that, I think one Titan is one which will see a very good breakout during the intraday. I think Titan at current level 3310 should be an opportunity, and I think 60 70 points again a trading bet for the Titan. And lastly, the Indian hotel is something which we are always bullish. So I think Indian hotel 430, 435 is a target for the Indian hotel. Again, a trading bet.
Okay, absolutely got that, Brijesh. And your thoughts on NBCC as well. So the stock is at fresh 52-week high, and the company has actually received a work order worth 80 crore rupees from the Vishakhapatnam Port Authority, and we can see a positive reaction on this particular stock. 65.15 is the level. What are the levels one should keep an eye out on when it comes to NBCC?
NBCC, I think there will be a continuation of the trend will be there. We'll take the positive buy on the counter. The lower side 55 is the multiple support zone from where the stock has picked up the momentum. So with that pace, I think we can be talk of 75 to 80 levels on the higher side. It's a positive bet for the counter.
Okay, and what about Bank of Baroda? One of the counter swing trade in the making towards the long side. What are your thoughts? 205 is the level where we are at.
It's exactly the same way the SBI is trading, but then SBI had a lot of option data which suggests that it can cross 600 level. But in case of Bank of Baroda, it has just come to the support level, but there is no trend reversal as of now. But then on from the long term perspective, definitely Bank of Baroda is also positive. With today's low, if somebody wants to take a buy call, I think that can be seen. But only the concern is 210, 211 level because this is the area from where the breakdown has come. So mostly, I think some bounce back will be seen till 210, 211, 211 levels. I would be extremely positive if these levels are taken up, then it can easily go back to 220, 225. So slightly, but overall, it's a long-term bet. We are quite positive on Bank of Baroda and risk uh, with reference to the risk reward ratio. I think one can take the position.
Okay, it's already 9:40, and let's take stock of what the markets have given us on the long side. We've discussed Hero Motors. This is one of the picks that Brijesh suggested. A fairly strong breakout happening, and at about 31.40 on the cash markets, the counter is at its highest since August. So it's September and October. It's a 3-month high on the counter, and at the moment accompanied by a decent rise in open interest. Remember, it's just the first 30-35 minutes of trade. We've discussed very strongly the breakout on Tata Motors. Remember, this is the top performing auto stock for today, as also for the month of October. Fresh record high here, 677 in futures and a 1% uptick on open interest. ONGC we've discussed. NMDC is something that needs to be looked at. Coming to Brijesh, 1.6% higher as far as the future is concerned at 162.65, and the open interest is 1% higher. Brijesh, what are the charts telling to you? Again, a very high beta stock when it comes to price and momentum. At the moment, the monthly chart says it at highest level since November of 2011. So it's a 13-year breakout. Your views on NMDC?
I do agree. We are seeing on a multi-year kind of a breakout, but this levels of 175, 170 is the area of distribution from where the selling has started during the month of 2011. So and the way the stock has moved over the last couple of days from the 100 and from the base of 100, 110, it has moved to 160. I think somewhere close to 170, 175, there will be some selling or profit booking. So my sincere advice would be like if somebody's having a position, make a part profit booking close to those level, and then one should review. Review is what I believe. I think that should be the take for the end decision.
Okay, absolutely. And we should also pull up Mankind Pharma. The stock is in focus. The Sikkim manufacturing facility of the pharma company has resumed operations, and operations were disrupted due to disturbance in power supply due to flash floods. So I want to see what the stock is doing. Okay, it is doing. It is trading 1% higher as we speak. 1809 is the level. What are your thoughts on Mankind Pharma, Brijesh?
Uh, which Magnum Pharma? I am not able to find this.
And any other pharma stocks that from your portfolio or from your portfolio that you would like to recommend to our
Yes,
viewers?
yes. Sun, there is a very strong base formation in the Sun Pharma. Continuously 115 has been a very strong base, and even at the from the derivatives point of view, 1180 strike price, there is a lot of positions has been seen. I think that we'll see a breakout in the Sun Pharma in the coming days. So one should take a trading bet on the Sun Pharma till this October expiry for the next 1 or 2 weeks. 1180 is what I feel would maybe 1180 plus target should be for the Sun Pharma. It's a very strong positive on charts.
Okay, and actually, I was talking about Mankind Pharma. If you could tell us the important levels one should watch out for.
Next one. It's in I'm extremely sorry.
No worries at all, Brijesh. I think let's talk about some real estate counters also. They are, they have been on a roll on the back of strong operational business updates, Brijesh. Any stocks that you like from the real estate pack and that could, deliver a good amount of return in the near term?
Yeah, there are two counters. One is from the FNO, like both are from the FNO space. One is DLF. So at least for the month of expiry, for the month of October. So whenever there's a correction in the DLF close to 550 levels, I think it's again a good amount of buying opportunity. Close somewhere close to 600 is a target for the DLF. And next one is the Obura Realty. I'm quite extremely positive, even after the news break, like whatever the news we had seen over the last week. I think the stock is very strongly rebounded, and I think 1200 plus is the target for the Obura Realty. So one should definitely take a long position in both the counters. For the DLF, some will wait for some correction close to 50 levels. I think DLF will be a very good buying opportunity, and Obura at the current levels can be taken as a long bets.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brijesh, on that note, for taking the time out and being with us here on Business Today
Yeah.
Television. Shail, coming back to you, what are you looking at this point in time? Any stocks, any sectors on your radar?
Yeah, Tanya, I would look at GSFC. Again, like I said, low ticket, high beta, and from the government pack. This is the price that we are seeing in terms of an all-time high. Yes, it's 2 successive days of breakouts that we've seen on the price. 194.90. This looks really overheated. But the Nifty now scalping back, now down just 27 points, 19,723. Remember, the index will be trading at the whims and fancies of HDFC Bank, which will declare its second quarter earnings. Profit is likely to rise anywhere between 40 to 45%, and in focus will be the net interest margin for the second quarter. Tanya.
Okay, absolutely. And now, it's time to shift our gears to the corporate side. So, the Indian economy is robust with recent data indicating lower inflation and strong industrial production, while global bond markets face challenges. Business Today TV's managing editor, Siddharth Zarabi, spoke to Axis Bank's Neelkant Mishra. Listen in.
What the latest data suggests, inflation cooling to almost 5%, more than what was expected, while industrial growth is at a 14-month high. Help us understand what this data really means.
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth, for inviting me. Always a pleasure talking to you. On the inflation data, I think the headline decline was mostly because of fruit and vegetables. I think the more encouraging trend was that the core inflation drifted down a bit more. And while food prices tend to be volatile, some of them are very short cycle. The encouraging thing is that we have been below 5% for several months now on the core inflation side. And I think that should give us some comfort on medium-term inflation projections being anchored. On the IIP data, I mean, I've been saying for many years that it's completely disconnected from reality. So to be honest, I don't pay much heed to it. But I must say that directionally, what it is indicating is something that we see as well, that most indicators of construction, like cement volumes, cable and wires, tiles, PVC pipes, these are all showing resilience. In fact, September quarter numbers, September quarter volumes for many of these companies are likely to be quite strong. So if all of this is happening, we are seeing double-digit cement volume growth after nearly a decade. All of this is a sign that the economy is on a very sound footing.
If the economy is performing the way it is, what are the latest numbers that you are working with as far as full year economic growth is concerned, Neelkant?
So earlier in the year, earlier in this calendar year, December, January, it was fashionable to say that India's economy was going to slow. If you remember, fourth quarter FY23 growth was at that time expected to be in the 4.5% range. And everyone felt that 6% for FY24 was too strong and that it was more likely to be 5.5%. And I always felt that the 4.5% was misleading and that FY24 would turn out to be 7% plus. I still think that we are growing at that pace. Now, there are some apprehensions I have about the pace slowing down over the next 6 to 12 months, primarily because of global risks. So there are some domestic factors as well, but they're minor, which is that some of the infrastructure construction has been front-loaded by both central and state governments. But I think the bigger risk is in global export growth for goods and services starting to slow down even further from here. We have seen some marginally negative commentary from the IT services firms. And as the US heads into a recession next year, I think the headwinds to growth can become quite significant. So I do think that we will slow down from here, but closer to the 6.5% range after slowing as a run rate level. I think the full year number will still be closer to 7% or so.
It's been the worst day for the United States that we saw on Thursday, which is the bond market where higher than expected inflation has triggered a surge in the yields, viewers. The 30-year yield is up 19 basis points, the 10-year up 14 basis points, and yields have risen 5x to 4.7% from 0.84% in 3 years. Neelkant, now all of this is bond data and not every viewer of ours will perhaps fully appreciate what is happening. Please decode it for our viewers. What is really happening in the United States and why are bond yields behaving in the fashion they are?
Yeah, no, I think this is the most important question for anyone in the financial market globally, because the yield on the 10-year government bond of the US is the risk-free rate, the long-term risk-free rate for the rest of the world. And the fact that yields are now meaningfully up from what we and the markets were used to in the prior decade is something that is very important, and it's worth understanding. So the first thing is that the policy preference for the US has inverted from a loose monetary, tight fiscal. So basically lower interest rates, but you try to bring down your fiscal deficit, which was adopted after the financial crisis in 2009, to a loose fiscal and tight monetary stance that we are seeing right now. So they've been raising interest rates, but the fiscal deficit is not being brought down as much as it should be. Now, so therefore, when we think about interest rates, the muscle memory that most people have is that the interest rates will go down to the level that they were used to. That if inflation starts to normalize, the 10-year government bond yield in the US will also fall back to the 2.5 handle. I don't think that's going to happen. And the reason is that the increase, so the band was 2.5% between 2010 and 2020. It has now gone up to in the 4.5% range. And of that about 200 basis points, 2% point increase, only about 30-40 basis points is the implied increase in inflation expectations. So even if inflation was to normalize to say 2%, 2.5% in say a year or so, even then yields will not come down significantly. Why have yields will they not come down? Because the demand supply for US government bonds has changed very meaningfully. See, for a long time, the price insensitive buyer of US government bonds, which is the central banks, right? So central banks like say PBOC, the People Bank of China, Bank of Japan, Reserve Bank of India, all of these central banks, when they bought US government bonds, they were buying them for liquidity. That you wanted to show that you had reserves in case the country's currency came under attack, you would have assets that you could sell very easily. And the US government bond is one of the most liquid assets in the world. Now, the problem is that incrementally, some of these central banks are not buying US government bonds, but the supply of those bonds has gone up substantially. So as the private players start coming in, they are much more price sensitive. So as they start worrying about the US fiscal deficit, the change in stance, which is that they're tightening the monetary conditions and they're relaxing the fiscal conditions. What this has meant is that the supply of bonds has gone up and the demand for bonds has not, and therefore the prices fall, and which means that the yields start going up.
In the IT sector with respect to employment, data suggests that almost 25,000 jobs or thereabouts have been lost on account of the global conditions where IT companies are facing headwinds in key markets. One of the large IT companies has also said that it will not hire freshers this year. While that is specific to a sector, Nilkant, does this really mean that as far as our economy being stable, our macroeconomy being stable, there are worries that we need to contend with?
Absolutely. So as our economy grows bigger, and one necessary condition for the economy to really grow is that it becomes more open to the world. We are going to be, it's very hard to be completely isolated. And while many drivers of growth, starting with say real estate construction, are purely domestic in nature, it is very hard to not get affected if there is a storm brewing outside. So, for example, if total services exports from India are 10% of GDP, if growth has already slowed from 15% year on year to 5% year on year, then that 10% drop in growth on 10% of GDP means that GDP growth falls by almost 1%. If that 5% goes to -5%, and if the US does go into recession, so the narrative that you had on the IT services names actually worsens because not only will the spate of hiring that they went through in the last 2-3 years, we have to be absorbed in terms of getting them utilized. There could be a shortfall or a drop in aggregate revenues as well, in aggregate order flows in the near term. I think the 5-year, 10-year trajectory remains quite robust, but I think the near-term pressures will actually start showing up, and which could mean a further drag on growth.
Okay, so that was Axis Bank's chief economist Neelkant Mishra for you. But coming back to the markets, and of course, it's going to be a selective day. It's going to be, it's going to be auto day. And of course, some of the IT counters as well participating and supporting the markets as we speak. Nifty is trading flat, 19,700. That is the level that is still intact. 19,735, the level where we are at. 66,000 intact on Sensex. And Nifty Bank is trading almost 100 points lower at 44,182. Of course, there are some of the PSU names that are supporting the markets, such as Coal India. We have some of the auto names like Hero Moto and Tata Motors supporting the markets. And we also have some of the IT names, such as HCL Tech, that are trading in the green and among the top gainers for you on your screens. And some of the other gainers include ONGC, Dr. Reddy's. They are also trading 1% higher. On the flip side, we have Nestle India, the top loser for you from the FMCG pack. We have the numbers also this week. So this stock will be in focus. DV's Lab, IndusInd Bank. Okay, these are some of the stocks that are not supporting the markets. Asian Paints. Remember, we pointed out that the rising crude oil prices, that is something negative for Asian Paints. So keep an eye out on this particular stock. BPCL, TCS, Adani Ports. These are some of the others losers for you. But with that, it's time. It's time for me and my team to wrap up this edition of Market Today. But let's see how the action plans are going forward. You don't have to go anywhere. Just stay tuned for all the latest market updates, and many thanks for watching.
भारत दशकों से क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म का सामना कर रहा है। आतंकवादियों ने भारत में हजारों निर्दोषों की जान ली है। संसद के नए भवन के पास ही आपको भारत की पुरानी संसद भी दिखाई देगी। करीब 20 साल पहले आतंक